Kicking It with Mia. It's your girl Mia, and we're going to get into season 16, episode 4 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Starting this episode off with Angela and Brit going on a walk through the park. Angela asked Brit, how's Michael doing? Brit started coughing uncontrollably, saying she choked on something. Y'all, I couldn't help but wonder if she really choked on something or did she do that because she didn't want to talk about Michael. So basically, Angela, opens up to Brit about her family drama. She's telling us that, Charles has issue with her sister and her mother. And she says, she messed up letting them in on their personal business. And her mother expressed how she felt to Charles, and then her and Charles got into it from there. She says that it started over cleaning up or something, and it exploded from there. I don't know if y'all been hearing. I'm pretty sure y'all may have heard, if y'all follow the show and stuff, that Charles is supposed to have an outside baby. Allegedly, Wendy Williams came out with this information years ago.
Bye to Charles, and then she came over and said goodbye, and she gave me a hug, and then she whispered in my ear, she said, "Can I tell you something?" I said, "What?" She goes, "Wendy, it's only a baby. Oh. You can work this out." And I looked at her like, has this ever happened to you? So she said, yes. I said, did you work it out? And she pointed over to Charles and said, yes. I said, well, then you're more forgiving than me.
And y'all, that made me think, is that the reason for the fallout? Like that's one of them things, how family be. So I did notice that when she did introduce herself, she said, he had a Charlie Jr., but they didn't show a picture of him like they showed of the other kids. So I do wonder if it's some truth to that. That's allegedly. We don't know if that's true or not, but Wendy Williams did report on that. So yeah, she's saying that her mother and Charles don't get along, and Charles still feel a way about it to this day. And she helped take care of them financially, and Charles is a big reason for her to be in a place for her to take care of them financially. So she wants them to get along. I do agree that when you're in a relationship and y'all are having issues, some stuff you gotta keep to yourself, baby. Talk to God about it. If it's and if it's that bad that you can't talk to them about it, can't talk to you feel that embarrassed about it, then you might need to leave. But I feel like if you're gonna stay with somebody, whether you're in a marriage or a long-term relationship, that's one of those things where you just might have to keep it to yourself, baby. Get a job. Like I said, talk to God, because when you forgive, everybody else might not be so forgiving. But if it is anything true about this outside child, it's kind of a hard thing to, forgive. And so then Brit opened up about her Brit has told us she has a estranged relationship with her sister, but she says that they lost their father. She let us know that she lost her father to a blood clot, and that the sister and Michael have a relationship, but I'm pretty sure the sister isn't liking Michael because she feel like Michael wants to be her dad, and Brit is like, that's not what it is. So they kind of bond on the fact that they're both having family drama with their men. Then Angela talks about her and Shamea, and how that she's gonna have a dinner party, and she is inviting the ladies to the bank. And how her and Shamea, they kind of got off on the wrong foot. Both of them were taking up for their friends. Like, a lot of it was just really like petty drama. And she felt like, that they could get past it. So she's going to extend the invite to Shamea. And here go Brit. Oh, Shamea has been nice to me. But Kenya, on the other hand, like, y'all, Brit just want to have an issue with Kenya. If what has been shown is really what has taken place, Brit really shouldn't have an issue with Kenya. But child, baby, Brit is not letting it go. Brit is like, Kenya just one of them girls who have a certain type of personality. Like, maybe it's Brit has taken that little comment about that marriage stuff and ran with it, child. Next, we see Shamea and her sister. Shamea is she wanted her sister to come over, and she wanted her to have a drink with her because she want to play her song for her. I did not know Shamea was in a group with Carrie Hilson. I did not know she had, all these this stuff, this singing background. Her song, I listened to her song, and her song is cool. Shamea do open up to her sister about, how Angela has invited her to the bank, and she's like, honestly, if I was Angela, I don't know if I would have invited me after the way I acted with her. Then, y'all, it goes to the confessional, and why Shamea, oh, I gotta moonwalk out of this. How I'm a moonwalk out of this? Your nose is mine, y'all. I see why Shamea and Porsha was friends so long, because they are both funny, and this is why I say I'm liking Shamea, but for y'all to think Shamea is not shady and stuff too is insane to me. I feel like her and Porsha is more alike than we think. But anyway, she do says that, she want to apologize to her and extend the olive branch to her because, she didn't really mean it like that. They got off on the wrong foot. She was taking up for Porsha, and that Angela was taking up for Drew. And basically she says, I don't want to be known for always taking up for Porsha because that's what, everybody basically has called her for all these years, Porsha's sidekick. So we see Porsha and we see her sitting down with her team. I will have to note, I do want to note that Porsha's cousin Lundy in this scene, if you watch Porsha's Family Matters, the spinoff show that she got, then that's where Lundy was introduced, I believe. I just want to say R.I.P. She passed, and I was like, dang, look at Lundy. So Porsha basically is like, she wanted to retire at 40. That was her plan. Like, basically, she's been doing her businesses on the side. Her thing was being a wife and focusing on her family. So she like, baby, I gotta go get it. Like, all that is out the window. I cannot retire at 40. And so she does reference like Martha Stewart. She like, I got to have the mentality of Martha Stewart when she got out of jail because I gotta go get a bag. So basically she's talking about expanding her pampered line. She do have a line of sheets, which I've heard good things about Porsha sheets. Like, I'm a person big on reviews. I don't own any of them, but the reviews that I've seen, she got really good reviews. So she's, telling them that she's focusing on bringing comforters to the line, duvets, a luxury line. And so she's also talking about Go Naked Hair, which is her hairline, the hairline that Drew used to be an ambassador for. And she knows she's like, they want to bring on more ambassadors, but they got to be ready to work, basically. They got to be serious about their content. And so Johnny, the Porsha's creative director, and he's an executive producer, let Porsha know that basically Drew and Dennis has hit him up about Drew's music. And he's like, I didn't know Drew was Quincy Jones. So Porsha is like, she didn't really say too much, but she's like, oh, Drew hasn't been fulfilling her contract with Go Naked, so Go Naked Corporate is gonna handle her. And y'all, production is so funny because Porsha was like, we have attorneys, we have admin, we have HR, and they spell Porsha's name a different way because they're all her. And Johnny is like, well, what's the number to Go Naked Corporate? And she like, you have my number. And then she's like, oh, Go Naked Corporate, this is Porsha. See, that's what I'm saying. I feel like her and Shamea both just have a sense of humor. So yeah, she just basically talks about her line and basically how you know, it's time to go get it. Like, it's shit. She can't just be sitting back not doing nothing because she's going through a divorce and she needs her coin. And I understand that. So they let basement boy out the basement, y'all. So Ralph is here, and Ralph is outside doing football drills with the boys, and Drew comes out, and you know, she's basically trying to see what's going on. Their daughter, she's so cute. By the way, she wants, you know, Drew to join in the fun, and Drew is like, no, ask daddy if I can. So he lets Drew join the fun. And so basically, you know, Ralph says that he don't have an issue with Drew. He just wants 50-50% custody. I mean 50-50 custody of the kids. And that's all he's worried about. You know, Ralph be full of it. He's there in the confessional, y'all, talking, and I cannot do nothing but roll my eyes. Him having a confessional and Kenya doesn't. But yeah, he just basically talks about, you know, what he's, you know, they're asking him if he's been outside, and he's no, I've been inside with these kids. The producer seems like she low key flirting with Ralph. Don't let this be a Sonny and Moses situation now. No, but after Drew, you know, the kids go in the house, and basically Drew steps out and she talks to Ralph. And, you know, they both talk about how they want to co-parent. She says that, you know, she don't want the kids to know about the divorce, because when they're together with the kids, that it's not, you know, everything's good for the most part. And so Raph goes on to say that the oldest had brought him an article, and Drew said that the oldest did mention something about the divorce. And so she like, he brought you an article, what the article say, and basically the article spilled everything. And Drew was like, she didn't want to explain that to them now. Now this is kind of where I'm like, I feel like you should let your kids know, especially a kid of the oldest son age, because they're on social media. And when I can see if y'all wasn't who y'all wasn't in the limelight. Even though for me, I like to be open and honest with my kids, but you know, I understand people's decision. I respect people's decision of not wanting to share that with their kids. But like I said, with them being who they are, and of course, you know, your son is social media age, where I'm pretty sure he has a phone and he's on social media. And that's why he's able to bring an article to Ralph, because it's everywhere and he sees it. Especially, he knows, you know, y'all on this show. Ain't no telling what he's looking up. And not even just that, you have other people, like other kids, their parents and stuff like that, be in people's business. So I just feel like that's something that you should discuss, just for the sake of no one can tell your child better than you can tell it. So basically, they just go on to say how, you know, they work better as co-parents. Drew called Ralph a narcissist. The production asked Drew, what does that mean? Drew still doesn't know. She has to take out her phone and look it up. But he goes on to apologize to Drew, basically saying, you know, if he was a narcissist, then he wouldn't apologize, because narcissists don't apologize. But then, y'all, they did a little crib scene of Raph in this basement. And I see why Raph don't want to leave the basement. Baby, the basement is nice. The basement is a little mini, like he said, it's a little mini penthouse. Like Drew, like, you know, you in the basement, you living the life that you already want to live. And basically she like, well, it's time to get out the basement. And he like, baby, the basement don't bother me. Baby, Ralph ain't trying to go nowhere. He is not trying to leave the house. That's why he was cross-examining Drew. Like, child. So basically, they just kind of come to the resolution. You know, he's like, this your weekend, so I'm going back to my basement. He's saying that it's his curfew. Like, he got to be in the house at a certain time. It's a mess, y'all. So we've seen estranged Ralph, and y'all, they got Drew's estranged husband. Production is so messy. So this scene with Kelly and Kenya, I really like this scene. This scene, I feel like, is what Housewives should be about. Like, it's what it's all about. Like, we like the shade and the drama, but it's good to see a woman uplift another woman, especially us Black women. So basically, Kenya invites Kelly to her spot to show her around, and Kelly is basically encouraging Kenya. Like, Kenya is basically telling Kelly that she's $400,000 in. She spent Brooklyn's college fund, and she's like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. She cries about that, and we know, if y'all guys, you've been a long time watcher of the Housewife, y'all know Kenya has a very hard exterior, and she usually don't get personal with people. So I feel like Kenya has grown a lot, especially since she's had Brooklyn. And though Kelly is basically, telling Kenya that it's gonna work. Like, if you believe it's gonna work, it's gonna work. She's like, Kenya's like, I'm $400,000 in the hole, and Kelly's like, you're gonna get it right back. It's okay. You have to put in sometimes to get what get it back. And Kelly said one thing to me that I resonated with and that I love. She was like, when God plants a seed in you and that's only for you, once you manifest that and you go after it, it's like one of those things where it may be one of those things where can't nobody see it but you. So basically, um if it's you want to do something, it's not up for everybody else to understand it. It's not up for everybody else to agree to it. Like, go after what you want, and if it's for you and God gave you that vision, once he see you doing what you need to do, he's gonna work it out for you. And baby, that is a whole word. And so Kelly basically opens up to Kenya about why she has a bodyguard. Like, Kenya is like, Kelly, why you got a bodyguard with you? And so Kelly is like, we both have a MARK, which is a mark. And she's like, but you need a bodyguard? And then she's like, yeah, he threatened my life. And so Kenya was like, did anybody hear you? Did he hear him threaten your life? Like, you have him, you have proof of him threatening your life? And she's like, girl, he threatened my life in court. Like, do you know how crazy? Like, this is not even a laughing matter. Do you know how crazy you have to be to threaten somebody's life in front of a judge? Like, because if anything happens to Kelly, baby, they are coming straight for you. Like, but yeah, she said this man threatened her life in front of the judge, and the judge put a restraining order on him. Like, it's so bad that he can't even get his children because, of course, if you threaten my life, I don't know what you would do. Even though these are your kids, you just never know what a person mental is. So basically, Kenya is like, well, what is it that y'all are still arguing about? It's like, y'all should be done with that part. Like, what is the issue? So she basically says that he wanted the businesses. He wanted to close the businesses. And so she said that they've been married for 11 years and that the business has been open 8 years. So they got the businesses while they were together. He's wanting to close the businesses basically so she won't have anything. She agreed to basically, she was like, you can just let me run the business and you can still get residual income from the business. And he didn't want that. He wanted to close everything because she basically said that he was like, if you don't, you won't have nothing without me. And y'all, and that's crazy. Like, she offered, how some women would try to go there and don't want to give you anything. She offered to still, let me run the business and you can still get your point off of it. And he don't want to do that. And y'all, you just never know what you're dealing with. So basically, she walks around with a bodyguard, which I get it. If you got to take the extra precautions, then you got to do that. But yeah, she walks around with a bodyguard because she's scared of her husband. And I mean, I could get that, especially somebody who don't give a damn. It's to the point where they would threaten you in court in front of a judge. Like, but this scene was a really good scene. So we see Brit and her sister Cher in this next scene meeting up to have lunch/dinner. And Brit, Cher is the I think she's the middle sister, and cause she's 3 years older than Brit. Brit goes on to say how her and her sister basically have had this estranged relationship, and she wants to get it back right with her. And she says, her sister Cher was always there for her when they were kids. Like she said, when she was in high school, girls used to always want to fight her, and we kind of see why. But she said girls used to always want to fight her, and her sister Cher would always come to her rescue. And I could see Brit having her sister in a lot of drama because we see Brit on this show. So basically, you know, Brit, asked Cher how she spoke with their mother. And Cher's like, yeah, we spoke, but I blocked her. It's like Cher seems like, when she gets mad at them, she blocks them. Which I'm not in agreement with that. Like, that's your sister, that's your mother. We can be mad, but blocking, come on now, because anything could happen. So basically, Cher opens up that she wants that relationship with her sister. Like, she's like, when y'all get in relationships, it's basically fuck me. And she's like, it shouldn't be like that. I want to have conversation with you, but every time I have to, I'm having conversation with you, Michael is there. And Britt's like, well, that's my husband. And y'all, I do not agree. I did not agree with that. Like, Britt is trying to say her sister isn't happy for her because she's in a relationship and she's not there. And, you know, I feel like her sister just really is crying out for one-on-one time with her. It seemed like before Britt got with Michael, they spent one-on-one time together. And once she got with Michael, their one-on-one time became three of them. It became Cher, Britt, and Michael. And she's like, I don't want to have to talk to you. And I'm like, that's crazy that when your sister is talking to you, that Michael is there. Like, I can understand if you go over or that y'all come over each other's house and he's there. But if I say, sis, let's go hang out, why are you bringing your husband? And then even in this scene, Michael is constantly blowing up her phone, telling her it's time to go. I'm like, okay, I know it wasn't something wasn't right with Michael. Like he just seemed off with something for me. And like him blowing up her phone saying let's go when you know that basically she's working, she's filming, and not only that, she's having a moment with her sister. Like, can she not be out without your consent? Can she not be out with you telling her that it's time to come home? And so that right there alone made me, realize, okay, the sister not lying. Like her husband, she wants her husband in everything. And it's like, girl, we get it. You happy you got a husband. You happy you got a man. But at some point, you have to tell your husband, no, I'm going to enjoy my sister and I'll be back when I get back. So I feel like her sister feelings are valid. I feel like Brit is somewhere in La La Land and she's one of those people who think everybody is jealous of her and everybody feels the type of way about her. And it's like, no, Brit, you're literally the cause. Your sister is telling you what she wants from you and you're trying to make it something else. And I could see why their relationship is estranged because yeah, the sister may be blocking people and they both play a role in it, but Britt plays a big role in it because there's no way your husband should be there every time we're talking or every time we're spending time together. Just no way. So Drew and Dennis are filming together. Baby, Dennis said, you ain't said nothing but a thing. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And y'all, I still think this is a storyline that Drew, Dennis, and Porsha all are a part of. Y'all cannot tell me different, but for the sake of the show, we're gonna keep talking about it. But I think this is a storyline. So basically, Drew goes to the studio to perform and film. I mean, to film her. What you do in the studio, and Dennis is there, and Dennis is basically, not understanding why there's an issue. Like Drew is like, no, Dennis tell Porsha that she got to give the men something now because she basically single, and Porsha, I mean Drew is like, I'm not single yet, baby. I got to sign on that dotted line first, and then she was like, I'm getting in trouble. I've been getting in a lot of trouble. And then Dennis is like, what type of trouble you been getting in? And so Drew is like, Porsha, it's always an issue when we're with the girls. Porsha is acting a way towards me. And Dennis is basically like, that wasn't even an issue, when we started doing this, when we started working together. Porsha was in Nigeria eating fufu. Like, okay, Dennis, like, I do low-key feel like Dennis wants to get back at Porsha just for Porsha getting married to Simon, because even though Dennis messed up their relationship by cheating on her while she was pregnant and stuff, I do feel like he still have feelings for Porsha. I feel like they have feelings for each other. And her getting married to Simon, like, he feel like Porsha played in his face. So now he like, I'm fixing to get a bag and I'm fixing to do what I want. Rightfully so, though. They're not together. So Drew is basically, she's like, I thought you said that you told her and it was cool, but now she's not saying that. And Dennis is basically like, well, Drew, you need to handle that. He basically, tell Drew that, I mean, that's your responsibility to talk to Porsha. Like, it ain't nothing what you want me to do. But it's more so Dennis don't care. He basically like, I don't let Porsha know what it is, you need to talk to her. So that's just basically, show that they don't really care, they doing them. And this scene was cool. It wasn't nothing spectacular. So we're at the final scene where the ladies all get together for Angela party, her little dinner party at the bank. And Kenya comes in. And the dress code is all black, baby. Everybody is in all black. And here comes Kenya in her little teal green dress. And might I add, Kenya looks good. For her age and stuff, Kenya looks good. But she comes in, she's like, she didn't know the dress code was black. Everybody is like, girl, it says it on the invitation. The dress code is black. We not buying it. But so she goes around and she speaks to everybody. She gives Brit a hug, and it's not good enough for Brit. Like, I knew Brit was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but this is where I really see that she's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She ain't got it all. Like, she got mad because she didn't feel like Kenya hugged her or greeted her the way she did everybody else. But Kenya hugged her and greeted her, just how she did everybody, but maybe she gave her a side hug and she wanted a full hug, baby. I don't know. But Britt was mad about that. Like, Britt was like, here go Kenya coming in, not being nice to me, coming in, not giving me a hug and greeting me properly. Like, Britt, at this point, child, I'm thinking something's off with Michael, but something off with you too, baby. This is why you always saying you don't have no friends, because you look cray. And so Shamea comes in with a olive branch, and she gives the olive branch to Angela, letting her know, that they got off on the wrong foot, and that she wanted to extend the olive branch. And Angela accepts, and so they kind of chunk it up, and they're cool. Shamea is still low key being messy in her confessionals. She's being shady still, but they cool. They squashed the beef. I did like the little interaction that Kenya and Porsha had, because Kenya was like, well, what do they have here? And so Porsha's like, look, egg roll. Kenya like, well, what type of egg roll? She like, a little peach cobbler egg roll, look, yam bite. And Kenya like, little chili, I thought that was cute. They had that little back and forth. That was funny. But so here go Kelly. She's like, Drew came to the event with more people than she invited. She like, you brought extra people to my event, and not only did you bring extra people, but baby, y'all ain't buy nothing. Like, y'all ain't spend no coin. So how dare you bring extra people and don't spend no money? She like, and then you bought this person and they stayed the whole time. She's like, you there, you drinking champagne, you having hors d'oeuvres, and y'all ain't spending a coin. Drew says that she spent $2,000 that she got her son a vest, and she shows Kelly her phone of a text message thread between her and a salesperson. And while Kelly is reading her messages, a group message come up with Dennis. And so Kelly is like, well, I see Dennis texting you. You know, of course she didn't really say nothing. She just laughed and kind of looked. But she didn't say too much. So Drew, she don't believe Drew. She's like, oh, I see the text messages, but this is not proving that you bought nothing. And so Kelly is a little salty because she feel like Drew came to the event, ate and drank, but didn't spend any money. And she's like, you know, Drew is not basically one of them. She's not used to this type of stuff. And I see that she's not supportive. But, you know, we do know Drew is going through a divorce. We do know Ralph is sucking Drew dry. And we know that, you know, she's going through it right now. And I just want to say she may not have it. Like, yeah, I understand, you know, the event was for a great cause, and I do know you wanted everybody to buy something, but she may not have it for real. Now, could she just, you know, kind of donated something separately to the organization? Yeah, but maybe she didn't have it. But I get both points of view, you know. But we know we gotta be shady for TV, baby. So Kenya invites all the ladies to her spa. She's inviting the ladies to her grand opening of her spa. And right after, you know, Kenya invites everyone, Angela asks Shamea, you know, has things been going to catch them up on stuff. And so Shamea pulls out her phone to play her song. And as she's playing her song, you know, Porsha's like, that's not you. And she was like, that's Drew. And so Shamea is like, no, that's me. And Porsha was like, I don't know your singing voice. And she was like, that's me, Porsha. And she's like, no, that's Drew. That's not you. Basically being shady. And so she's like, this, I know that's not you. That's Drew. And this right here, y'all, I hate to say it because I like Porsha. I like both her and Shamea. But Porsha, you was giving hater, baby. You was giving jealous. You was giving all the things the girls are saying about you right now. And it's like, I can't even defend that, Porsha. Like, what we doing, sis? Like, and my thing with this is, even if you felt like that didn't sound like Shamea, you could have. That's for her being your friend, and y'all been friends for so long. Y'all call yourselves best friends. You should have had her back. Like, you should have congratulated her. Like, even if you feel like it was auto-tuned, it didn't really sound like her, or whatever the case may have been, even though I feel like you was just throwing shade and being funny. But even if you felt that way, to my homegirl, I would have been like, oh, yes, you know, congratulating her. I'm never, and if I felt like it didn't sound like her, I would have asked her later on between me and her, like, girl, I wasn't being funny. That really didn't sound like you. Know what they do to your voice. You sound good. But I wouldn't have never said that, oh, that's Drew, and I never would have not congratulated her in front of the group. Like, that was giving hate vibes, Porsha. And, you know, Drew was like, you know, Porsha's being shady. She know that doesn't sound like, she know that's not my voice. And Angela was even like, you know, you don't know how your best friend sound. And I was disappointed in Porsha. Like, come on now, Porsha. And Shamea just, like, you could tell, like, she felt the way. And Shamea was better than me, because since you want to play in my face, come on, let's play. But, but, you know, and then, y'all, the Porsha confessional didn't make it any better. Because she's like, well, it sounded like Drew. Drew sounds good. That means it sounds good. So, you mean to tell me you didn't think her music sounded good before? Like, just hush, Porsha, because your confessional didn't make it any better. So, yeah, I was disappointed in Porsha. Like, Porsha, you got to do better. That was some hating ass shit to say. And this is why the girls are calling you jealous and saying that you want to be Shamea and you're jealous of Shamea, because I know people say that Porsha is jealous, but I feel like Porsha and Shamea are kind of one and the same. They're very similar. We just haven't gotten to know Shamea yet. Like, I like both of them, but I feel like they both have their ways. And I feel like everybody's been putting them against each other, but this right here, Porsha, did not help your case, girl. So the ladies start playing a game, and it's basically like a question game. Porsha did speak on Charles, it was like, I heard Charles was a little spicy. And she was like, oh yeah, my man can be spicy. And then Porsha was like, oh no, I really heard something. But Porsha don't disclose anything. She like, we gonna wait. So then they asked Kenya a question. They asked, Kenya, what color panties you got on? And Kenya stands up and basically, I guess she insinuated she didn't have on no panties. And of course, she's like, girl, you got a big, and this is looking at us like, how the hell are you? So then we get to Kelly. Kelly asked the question, it's like, no, Drew asked the question, why you always worried about married women? And she said woman, and who corrected the question? Miss Brit. So she's asking, they're asking Kenya why she's always worried about married women. And Kenya was like, oh, it's a habit. And so Kelly is like, for real? And she's like, no, I'm just being silly. So the next question is Brit asking Kenya a question. And she's like, can you speak to Brit nicely? And so Kenya's like, I speak to everybody nicely. I've spoken to everybody nicely. And she's like, well, we're not talking about everybody. We're talking about me. And Kenya was like, I spoke to you nicely. And she's like, queens don't have time for peasants or something like that, Kenya said. And Brit just blew up. And like, I feel like Brit and Kelly wrote these questions, or Brit wrote these questions, because why did Kenya have 3 questions? And it's like, Brit, you got that mad. You're that mad because this woman don't want to be your friend. I feel like Brit was a fan of the show, and she wanted to be in cahoots with Kenya and wanted to really get to know Kenya. And when Kenya didn't embrace her, she couldn't take it, because it's like, it's no way that you should be this mad. Obviously, it must be something that we haven't seen, that happened off camera that they haven't shown us, or that they edited out. Because if you're this mad because this woman didn't want to be your friend, like, at this point, you need to go. You don't need to be on the show. Like, baby, we're not doing it. Like, she got so mad to the point that she's talking about whips and pistols, because don't nobody want to hug you, because you feel like somebody's not speaking to you properly, when this woman has spoke to you and gave you compliments and stuff literally the last 2 episodes. Like, Brit, I see why you always saying you don't have no friends, because you don't know how to be a friend. Like, you don't know how to deal with women. I feel like she is gun ho on making Kenya be her friend, I feel like. And I feel like Kenya took the bait. Like, I thought Kenya would have handled it differently, just because Kenya been in the game for a while. She knows how to play the game. She's, housewives is her thing. She's a good housewife. Like, she's good television. So the fact that Kenya kind of let her trick her out her spot. But I do feel like Bravo should have held Brit to a higher standard. If Kenya got fired, then Brit should have got fired, because she provoked her, and she's been provoking her since the show started. Like I said before, I feel like Brit is a fan of the show, and she was a fan of Kenya. And she got on the show and she wanted to be Kenya's friend. And when she felt like Kenya shaded her, she took it and she ran with it. Or she felt like, let me go after Kenya because Kenya one of the big dogs, so I got to make a name for myself. But I feel like this whole plan has backfired, because nobody really likes Brit. And I'm not liking Brit. Like, Brit, you and your husband are weird. And not only that, her husband told her she was doing too much. Like, you're doing all of this because you want to be this lady friend, and she don't want to be a friend, because you want to try to, handle somebody. But I do feel like Kenya could have handled it better. But we'll see next episode. Let me know what y'all think about the whole Brit and Kenya situation, child. This too much. I feel like Brit just did the most. Like, Brit is like, baby, she ain't all there. She ain't working with full deck. Brit thinks she on Zeus. Brit thinks she on Love and Hip Hop or something. Like, girl. Bye, y'all.